Finally, we're getting away from the oxygens and we're going on to the nitrogen. So I'm starting with amines or amines. Anytime you have a nitrogen on there, it's going to be really an amine or an amine, okay? So I will be saying amine. So they contain a nitrogen. You can have primary, secondary, and tertiary, just like we can with alcohols, but they're kind of built a little different. It depends on how many carbon groups are attached to your nitrogen. Okay, so if you only have one carbon group attached to your nitrogen, it's primary. If I have two carbon groups attached to my nitrogen, like this guy here, I got a carbon group up here and a carbon group down there, that is secondary. And if they were all carbon groups, it would be tertiary. Okay, this one is a nitrogen, it has 3 methyls attached to it, that is tertiary. So it works the same as the alcohols, only we're not looking at the carbon, we're looking at the nitrogen. Okay, it'd be primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay. Now, nitrogens, and we've said this before in a lot of our classes, can act like bases. They are really weak bases. So this is where this comes from. Nitrogen has the extra alone pair on it, so it can act like a weak base, and it can accept an H+. So that's where all these weird amine molecules came from. They're like NH3. NH3 is just ammonia, right? But if you start swapping out those hydrogens with carbon groups, then you end up with primary, secondary, and tertiary amines, and they act the same way. So that's a weak base. Now, one I haven't really introduced yet is amide or amide, and that is when you have a carbonyl and an amine. So we've been talking about when you have a carbonyl, C double bond O with another part. Well, C double bond O with a nitrogen part is called an amide or an amide. Okay, made by, very similar to how we made esters, a carboxylic acid with an amine instead of an alcohol. So I have a carboxylic acid that I start with. I add that amine on instead. I take off a water, and now this is an amide. I have this guy with a double bond O attached to a nitrogen with whatever was attached to that amine over here. So this is how you make an amide or amide, same way.